Hi, I'm Ron Bateman, the Sheriff of Anne Arundel County. Welcome to your Anne Arundel's Most Wanted program, a program where we showcase wanted criminals, highlight open cases, and look to you for tips. You, concerned citizens, that share my same goal, and that's keeping our communities safe. You'd be proud to know that your calls have allowed us to put handcuffs on thousands of criminals. So sit back, set your DVR, or grab a pen and paper, and help do your part in catching criminals. You're watching Anne Arundel's Most Wanted. Okay, before we start, I want to make sure I dedicate this show to my friend, Corporal Tommy Simms, who's a retired deputy sheriff with the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. Tommy recently passed away, and he is greatly missed by all of us at the Sheriff's Office. Excellent man. His attitude was off the charts. He was always smiling. He served the public well. He served the agency well. He served Anne Arundel County well, and it's a big loss, and we really miss him. So this show is dedicated to Tommy. So now for a regular guest on our show, Corporal Amy Meaghan from the Annapolis Police Department. Welcome back to the show, Amy.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Who'd you bring for us?
I've got three today. The first one is Carrie Lynn Hibbler. Her date of birth is June 7th of 1962. She's a white female, 5 foot 5 inches tall, weighing 142 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Her last known address is 1243 Washington Drive in Annapolis. She has 4 open warrants. She has 3 open warrants from Annapolis and 1 from Anne Arundel County. Her Annapolis warrants include 2 bench warrants for failing to appear in court for theft, less than $100 charges, and 1 for failing to appear in court for traffic violations. One of these warrants stems from a shoplifting on May 9th of 2016. At 12:30 p.m., an officer responded to the Giant grocery store for a report of a shoplifter in custody. The officer met with loss prevention staff, who reported Hibbler walked through the store, placing several items into a reusable bag. Hibbler then carried the bag, containing over $95 worth of items, out of the store, passing all workable registers. Loss prevention staff approached Hibbler outside the store and requested her receipt. Hibbler could not provide a receipt, and loss prevention staff contacted the police department. Hibbler was placed under arrest for shoplifting, but failed to come to court for this charge. Our second subject is Michael David Cusick. His date of birth is December 20th of 1976. He's a white male, 5 foot 6 inches tall, weighing 155 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. His last known address is 210 Holy Cross in Baltimore. He has a bench warrant for failing to appear in court for the charge of theft less than $1,000. This warrant stems from a shoplifting offense on July 2nd of 2015. At 3:30 p.m., officers responded to Shades on the Bay on Main Street for a report of a shoplifting. The suspect, later identified as Michael Cusick, was attempting to flee the area in a vehicle. When the officer arrived, he saw the owner of the store standing in front of Cusick's vehicle, preventing him from leaving. The officer approached the vehicle and ordered Cusick to turn off the engine and hand him the keys. Cusick got out of the vehicle and began walking away. The officer made contact with him and was able to arrest him without further incident. The owner of the store reported that Cusick and an accomplice stole 4 pairs of sunglasses and a pair of flip-flops. All the stolen items were located inside the vehicle. Cusick was charged, but later failed to come to court on these charges. And our third subject is Raquel Elysia Blake. Her date of birth is December 30th of 1994. She's an African-American female, 5 foot 7 inches tall, weighing 125 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Her last known address is 2404 Winchester Street in Baltimore. She has a bench warrant for failing to appear in court for a traffic violation. This warrant stems from a traffic stop on June 12th of 2015. At 4:11 p.m., officers were working a traffic detail when an officer saw a vehicle heading outbound Rao Boulevard that appeared to be speeding. The officer used a laser speed unit to obtain the speed of the vehicle as 55 miles per hour in a 40 mile per hour zone. The officer stopped the vehicle and identified the driver as Raquel Blake. Blake's license to drive and vehicle registration were suspended. Blake was charged with driving while suspended, but she failed to come to court on this charge.
You know, it's funny, your three people you just showcased were all failure to appear. And I want to remind the viewers that we get in Anne Arundel County 800 to 1,000 new warrants every single month that come to the sheriff's office for us to serve. 3/4 of those are for failure to appear because people just cannot seem to show up for court. And hopefully I'm getting ready to introduce a new program with the support of the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention here shortly that we're going to try a new way to try to curb those FTAs. So folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Do not approach them. Call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911, 24 hours a day. Keep those calls coming in because they are definitely paying off. Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And now for another regular guest on our show, Lieutenant Ryan Frazier from the Anne Arundel County Police Department. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Who'd you bring for us?
I brought two people for you today, Sheriff. The first person is Mr. Eric Mayong Lee. Lee has a date of birth of September 5th, 1966, and his last known address is 658 Faircastle Avenue in Severna Park. On October 8th, 2016, officers responded to Paul's Tire located at 7195 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard in Glen Burnie for a commercial burglary. When officers arrived, they spoke with a manager who stated when he arrived at work, he discovered a hole had been cut in the ceiling. Further investigation, the manager Upon further investigation, the manager was able to determine the number of items, including a security camera monitor, video surveillance recording unit, numerous impact tools, and money were missing from the business. Officers were able to view a backup security footage that was stored in another building and observed an Asian male in the footage, later identified as the former property owner, Mr. Eric Lee. The backup footage clearly shows Lee knocking the outside security cameras off of their mounts. As the video progresses, officers observe Mr. Lee appear on the screen entering inside the business from the ceiling, then begin walking around the business stealing items. During the footage, Lee can be seen taking these large items from the business and walking them back over to the hole in the ceiling. The footage ends when Lee walks towards the last camera, reaches up with his hand, and then the screen goes blank. Lee is accused of stealing approximately $6,000 worth of equipment and tools from the business. Lee currently has an active arrest warrant for second-degree burglary and multiple counts of felony theft. Our second individual is Mr. Malcolm Marcel White. White has a date of birth of November 21st, 1991, and his last known addresses are 909 Baltimore Annapolis Road in Severna Park and 2402 Ash Grove Lane, apartment 204 in Odenton. On October 6, 2016, our officers responded to the Marley Station Mall for a report of a theft. Upon arrival, they spoke with the victim, who stated the night before her car keys had been stolen. She then stated that she went to her vehicle with a spare key and she discovered her black Prada wallet that was left in the center console of the car was missing. Contained in the wallet were numerous credit cards and debit cards. During the investigation, it was learned that the victim's credit and debit cards had been used to make multiple purchases at several different stores in the area. The officer responded to those stores and was able to retrieve security footage that showed the individual using the victim's cards at those stores. The victim was shown the footage and immediately was able to identify the suspect as Malcolm Marcel White, who was a friend of her boyfriend. The victim contacted Mr. White and confronted him about the theft. White originally denied taking her car keys and wallet, but eventually admitted to the theft. White currently has multiple arrest warrants for theft as well as numerous other crimes that he has committed. Malcolm White has 2 arrest warrants for violation of probation, 1 warrant for failure to appear in criminal court, 1 warrant for theft, and a summons for rogue and vagabond.
Very good. Folks, and I know I sound like a broken record every single month, but if you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals, do not approach them. Call that number, 410-222-1490 or 911, 24 hours a day. Ryan, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And now for a regular guest on our show, Sergeant Ed Eicher from the Maryland State Police, Glen Burnie Barrack. Welcome back to the show, Ed.
Thank you, sir.
Who'd you bring for us?
We got 3 today. First one's Jovan Lee Redden. He has an address on Obery Street in Annapolis. In June 2016, he was stopped along Route 50 in Annapolis area, where he was identified as the driver. Mr. Redden was found driving erratically along US 50, moving in and out of lanes, passing cars on his shoulder, and subsequently stopped for his driving habits. The investigation led troopers to believe that Mr. Redden was driving under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs. He was asked to complete field sobriety exercises, which he performed poorly. And eventually, he was placed under arrest and charged for driving while under the influence of drugs and/or alcohol. He was issued a court date for September 19th of this year, which he failed to appear for. So currently, he has an active bench warrant for that failure to appear. Mr. Eugene Charles Malone is number 2. He's a black male, December 21st, 1987. He has an address on Tranquil Court in Onington, Maryland. In August of 2016, Mr. Malone was involved in a theft from a Gabe's. Malone stole approximately $1,000 in merchandise and left the store. He assaulted a Gabe's prevention loss officer and entered into a passenger vehicle and fled the area. A short time later, Mr. Malone was seen at a red light and a traffic stop was initiated, but Malone chose to flee instead. Vehicle chase ensued, traveling at high speeds and passing vehicles on the shoulder. Eventually, he was stopped after stop sticks were deployed against his vehicle. He was removed from the vehicle, and subsequent search of the vehicle revealed cocaine inside the vehicle along with the merchandise that was stolen. He was arrested and charged with numerous traffic charges, assault second degree, and theft and possession of a controlled dangerous substance. He had a court date on September 22nd, which he failed to appear for, and currently he has an active bench warrant for his arrest. And number 3 is Mr. Ricardo Daniel Cabrera. He's a Hispanic male, July 12th, 1995, has an address of Harvey D. Grace Drive in Edgewater. In January 2016, troopers were driving along I-97 after a significant snowstorm when they came upon a red Ford Ranger stuck in approximately 2 feet of snow off the roadway on I-97 near Hawkins Road. The troopers also observed a long track approximately 100 feet long through that snow leading up to the vehicle. Upon contact with the driver, who was identified as Mr. Cabrera, saw he was drooling and asleep behind the wheel. Once awoken by troopers, they observed Mr. Cabrera seemingly looking at and either dialing or texting his cell phone. However, the same troopers noticed the cell phone was turned off. Mr. Cabrera was confused during questioning, but stated he was fine. And due to his demeanor and bloodshot eyes, troopers completed field sobriety exercises, which he performed poorly on and subsequently arrested for driving under the influence of a controlled dangerous substance. He had a court date this year and was found guilty of that charge, but in August he's violated his probation on 4 separate accounts, and as a result of those violations, an active bench warrant has been issued for his arrest as well.
Very good. Folks, you know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Again, do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911, 24 hours a day. Ed, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, sir.
And now for those subjects wanted by the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. Let's see. Our first subject is going to be Lawrence Manville Jacobs III. Jacobs has 10 open warrants. So let's get into the details. On August 22nd, 2016, Jacobs failed to appear for court in Baltimore County for his 3 prior traffic charges of driving on a suspended license and for possession of CDS, not marijuana. On August 23rd, he failed to appear for court in Howard County for his 2 prior traffic charges of driving on a suspended license. He also failed to appear on the same date for his prior theft under $1,000 charge. On September 1st, he failed to appear for court in Anne Arundel County on his prior theft under $1,000 charge. On September the 14th, he picked up new charges in Anne Arundel County for theft $1,000 to $10,000, conspired to commit same, and malicious destruction of property under $1,000. Story is Jacobs and his wife worked together to pinch and hide several pairs of wireless headphones from the Glen Burnie Target. They walked right past the cashier stands and out the store without paying for the merchandise. Turns out this Bonnie and Clyde ran a similar scheme at another Target store back in April of 2016. The 2 subjects were identified by the loss prevention associate after that theft occurred, and both were charged. For the September theft, surveillance camera footage was compared to obtain positive identification, and county police took the report and applied for charges. On September the 15th, Jacobs failed to appear in Anne Arundel County Court for yet another prior theft under $1,000 case. Wow, he's racking them up, isn't he? On September 21st, he failed to appear for court in Howard County for his prior theft $1,000 to under $10,000, theft scheme for same, and theft under $1,000 charges. Jacobs also failed to appear on that date for another case involving the same charges. On September 23rd, another failed to appear from Anne Arundel County Court for theft $1,000 to $10,000 and theft scheme for same. And on October 3rd, Jacobs picked up new charges out of Howard County for, you guessed it, theft $1,000 to $10,000, 2 counts, and theft scheme for same. So today we are looking for Lawrence Manville Jacobs III, who is a 27-year-old white male with a date of birth of November 23rd, 1978. He's 6 foot 1 inches tall, weighs 235 pounds, and has brown hair, buzz-cut hair, and blue eyes. His last known address was 2023 Orchard Avenue in Jessup. And our next subject, that's going to be this guy's wife, Nicole Danielle Jacobs. Jacobs currently has 4 open warrants. Wow, what a pair. On September 14th, she picked up new charges in Anne Arundel County for theft $1,000 to $10,000, conspire to commit same, and malicious destruction of property under $1,000. You've already heard the story. She worked with her husband to forcibly remove several pairs of wireless headphones from a storage case in the Glen Burnie Target. She hid some of them in her purse, and the two walked right past the cashier stands and out the store without paying for the merchandise. Surveillance camera footage was compared to a prior theft from Target, which resulted in separate charges and arrest during April of 2016 to obtain positive identification of Nicole Jacobs and her husband. On September 20th, she failed to appear for court for her prior CDS charges. She failed to appear for a separate case on the 20th for multiple CDS charges, to include forged prescription and obtained by fraud. So today we are looking for Nicole Danielle Jacobs, who is a 27-year-old white female with a date of birth of August 20th, 1979. She's 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs 220 pounds, and has brown hair and brown eyes. Her last known address is the same as her husband, 2023 Orchard Avenue in Jessup. And our next subject, that is going to be Brian James Stewart. Stewart currently has 5 open warrants. On July the 13th, 2016, he failed to appear for court on prior traffic charges for failing to remain at the scene of an accident. On September 14th of 2016, he failed to appear for a prior traffic charge of driving an uninsured vehicle. On September 26th of 2016, he failed to appear for court for his prior burglary charge. A second warrant was issued for the same date for failing to appear for another burglary case. On October 17th of 2016, he failed to appear for court for his prior fail to comply with the peace order charge. So today, we're looking for Brian James Stewart, who's a 27-year-old white male with a date of birth of January 30th, 1989. He's 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs 170 pounds, and has blonde hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 5544 Exeter Street in Churchton. And our next subject, that's going to be Jovan Walter Brown. Brown has 1 open warrant for multiple counts of assault and reckless endangerment. On August 22, 2016, County Police responded to the area of Bobcat Lane in Lothian for a disorderly conduct call. Upon arrival, several complainants reported that Brown and another individual were using the red laser sight of a BB gun to target the upper torso of others and shot the BB gun at others while in close proximity to them. 2 of the complainants were struck with the BBs fired by Brown and his accomplice. All of the victims were familiar with both of the shooters and gave the officer a clear, detailed description of them. So today, we are looking for Jovan Walter Brown, who's a 19-year-old black male with a date of birth of March 24th, 1997. He's 5 foot 10 inches tall, weighs 150 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. At the time of the incident, Brown had mid-length dreadlocks. His last known address is 2005 Jaguar Lane in Lothian. Now I want to thank a few people that allow this show to happen every single month. First, that man behind the camera, Mr. Dale Boyer. Lieutenant Jennifer Gilbert-Duran from my office, who produces the show every single month and does a great job. I want to thank our county executive, Mr. Steve Shue. Chiefs of police from Anne Arundel County and Annapolis City. That's going to be Tim Altamari and Mike Pristoop. And also the Maryland State Police Superintendent, my friend, Colonel Bill Palazzi. Folks, remember, let's keep Anne Arundel County safe. I'm Sheriff Ron Bateman, and we'll see you next time on Anne Arundel's Most Wanted.